Hi everyone, I have made a game, Hit the Ball. Sorry for the name if it does not sound too fancy. That's all I could think about right now. So the name of the game is Hit the Ball, and through this game I'll be talking about timers, manipulation of strings, and canvas drawing. These are the three topics that were discussed in week 3, and I've touched upon these three topics through this game. So the first thing that I do here is that I tell you what exactly does this game do. So I have named the frame that I've created here as Hit the Ball. That is the name of the game that I've created. And this game is basically going to display small circles on the canvas. The player is supposed to hit these circles. So if the player hits these circles, that is inside the circles to be precise, it is only then that he'll get some point or some score. Otherwise, we'll print a message miss. So this is basically what the game does. Now before we start with what I have done here, I just want to show you how this game is going to finally look like. So I run it here and this is what I have. So basically if you see that I have created two buttons over here. So the first button is start and the second button is stop. That would be quite simple because we have already discussed that in the week 2. So I hit on start, and that is when the game is supposed to start, and it starts. So the circle, as we see, is changing its position again and again, and if I click it anywhere else apart from the circle, I'm going to get miss printed over here, and if I click it inside this red dot, then I get a hit, and I also get a score over here. The next thing is that I can stop the game whenever when I'm done with the game. So I'm going to stop it and I have a message printed here. Alright, so this is basically the game that I have created. Now one by one we'll be talking about all the elements and all the pieces of code that have gone into making this game. I have hidden the function definitions here, and I'll be opening them one by one as and when required, as and when I'm explaining that particular definition. So the first thing that I start with here is the first 3 lines here, that is import simple GUI, import random, import math. So I'll just tell you why I have imported all these 3 things. Simple GUI, of course, to create the canvas, the frame, the drawing, everything. Random, to generate the random location of the circle. Math has been imported so as to calculate the distance between the center and the point where I click. So that is the reason why I have imported math. Now the next thing is global state. If you just look at this program carefully, you can easily see that I have followed the directions that were specified to us in the video for week 2, wherein they told us that initially, that is the first thing that we need to do is we should define the global state, then the helper functions, the event handlers, we should create the frame, register the event handler, and start the frame and the timers if any. So that is what I have done. So alright, so we start with the first thing, that is the global state. Now initially I have specified the position of the circle. That means as soon as the game starts, what would be the position of the circle, or what is the global position that has been specified by me as 350, 250. Position over here is basically a list whose first element has a value of 350 and the second element has a value of 250. And this is the way of writing a list. That is, you put 2 square brackets and you put a comma between the 2 elements. The next is that I have declared color as red. Then I have made interval as 2250. Message has been left as blank and count as 0. So I have just declared this global state, and you will soon come to know that why I have done whatever state I have declared it as. So the first thing that I do is I'll start with things that we already know. So obviously we need to create the frame. So what I have done here is that I have created the frame using this statement, frame equal to simple GUI dot create frame. I have named the frame as hit the ball, and 700 by 500 are the dimensions of the frame. The next thing is I have called the frame, because that is again a thing that we know right from the beginning. So I have started the frame, that is using frame dot start. Now that is the part that we already know about. Now the next thing is that in order to actually draw that circle, we need to draw something on the canvas. So how do you do that? We could go to the docs, and over here we can open simple GUI canvas, and we can see draw on canvas. So we need to draw here a circle on canvas. So if we look at this, then the syntax for writing how to draw a circle is that we need to mention the center point, that is the center of the circle, the radius, and then the line width. That means the line that is going to draw that circle, the outline basically, what would be the width, and then the color of that line, and finally the color that would be there inside the circle. So using exactly this, I'll just open up my draw. I'll just change this to ball, because earlier I was thinking to call these small circles as bomb, but they nowhere look like bombs, so I'm going to call them ball. Alright, so here is this definition that I have used. Now there are three parts to it, but right now I am just concerned about the first part, that is the circle. So if you see over here, I have used this statement to draw the circle. Position is the position that I had declared here. Initially this would be the position, later on this position would be generated randomly. After that I have written the radius. Radius shall stay the same. 15 is the width of the line, that will also stay the same. Then I have black as the outline color, and color as the color of the inside of the circle. So that color is again going to change. Initially it is going to stay red. Alright, so once I have made this draw ball, so this is the definition of the event handler, and I need to register this event handler. So it is in this line that I have registered the event handler. Again I'm going to just change this name to ball, because it's no longer a bomb. Alright, so this is the event handler that we have registered over here. The next thing, that once we have drawn the ball, so the next thing is that I need to change the position of the ball with time. So initially the ball will stay at the position that I have declared in the global state, and after that the position of the ball should change randomly. So I'll be using random.randrange there, and I'll just show you how I have executed and actually done that part. So I have used a timer here. Now the timer is going to be called after a particular time, and I have used this interval variable here to declare the time, or to just tell the time at which this timer will be called. So I'll just start from the beginning itself, that how do you actually create a timer. So again I'll go to the docs, and inside the search I'll type timer, and here it comes. So timer is going to be created by typing timer equal to simple GUI dot create underscore time, the interval comma the time handler, and this is the way that I'll be defining the time handler. So that is what exactly that I do. First thing that I do is write for the time handler, that is timer is equal to simple GUI dot create underscore timer interval comma time handler. Now interval, I have already given that interval in the beginning in the global state. You can always change that interval according to your choice, and I have also declared a time handler over here. So this is the time handler. Now it's going to change position and color. So I have declared that these are the global variables that I'll be changing in this definition, hence the use of the word global. And after that I have color equal to red. That means every time the position of the circle or the ball it changes, I want that its inside should become red. You will be seeing later on that why do I want this. I want this actually because once the player is going to click on that ball, it's going to turn green if the player has clicked at the right position. So once the player clicks at the right position, I want it to become red again when the ball is going to appear at a new position. So now it's going to make its color red every time the timer handler is going to be called. That means after every interval. Next is I have created two random numbers, and I have given these values inside the brackets. These bracket values actually correspond to the values on the frame. So you need to calculate these very carefully. You don't want it to go outside the frame. So since the frame that I had created was 700 by 500, accordingly I have given these values. I have also ensured that that circle does not remain half inside and half outside, so I have started with 15 instead of 0, and then this I have made it as 685, and this is 385 because I want to print some message at the bottom of the canvas, so I need a space over there as well, so I made it as 385. So x over here tells you the position in the canvas, that is along the width, and y over here tells you the height position, and then I have assigned the position 0 and 1. Another thing that I want to point out here is that even if I don't put this keyword position over here, this is still going to work fine. So let me just remove this. The reason why it is still going to work fine is that position, what we are doing here is actually using this line to change that position value. Now position, as I had already told, is a list, and by writing 0 and 1 inside brackets, I am telling which element of the list that I want to change. So here I am changing the value of the element and not the entire variable itself. Therefore, if I don't write global position over here, it is still going to work. Later on I am going to show you that if you are not changing elements and you are changing the entire position, in that case you need to write the keyword global. So this is the timer handler, and this is where I have actually made this timer. So this is all about the timer. Now what this timer actually does is that it's going to create circles at different positions, and this position is going to be randomly generated by the computer. It's going to keep changing, and the interval of this timer has been set as 2250 milliseconds by me. That means after every 2250 milliseconds this timer is going to be called, and whatever I have written inside the timer handler, that is going to be executed. So once I am through with this timer handler, I have just hidden the function definition. I need not care about this any longer. Now the next thing that I have done here is, the next important thing is this click. Now this is something that has not been discussed in the week, so I will be elaborating on it in more detail. So what this click does is that it's actually giving an input through a mouse click. So using the docs, I go to graphics, then I go to control objects. Inside that I can see there is a mouse input control, and it is from here that I have seen that how actually when you click on the screen what happens and how do you control that. So the first thing that we see here is that the syntax is frame.set mouse click underscore handler mouse handler. So this is what we exactly have, and this is how I have created here also. I will just show you. Here it is. That is how you register this handler. That is frame.set underscore draw handler draw. Sorry. That is for this. I'm extremely sorry. So this is frame.set underscore mouse click underscore handler, and this is the name of the handler, that is click. The next thing, obviously, as we always do, is define that handler, and this is the definition. Now once you know what how you actually define the once you know how do you register it, next thing that you need to know is how do you actually define this. Now this is an important part, and this is where most of this game is actually, the most of the part of the game that is happening here. So what I am changing here is position, color, count and message, and therefore I have put the keyword global in front of them. Now what I have done is that I need to calculate the distance over here between POS and position. Now as you can see, POS or POS over here is the input to this handler, and this input is the coordinates of the place where the user clicks on the canvas. So that is one variable that I am putting inside the distance, and the other variable is position, which is going to give me the center of the circle. So what I have done is, using this function distance, which I have defined over here, you can see it, it's a very simple thing. It's actually using coordinate geometry. If you have 2 points A and B with their coordinates being x1, y1 and x2, y2, then you can simply calculate the distance between them as x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square whole square root. So that is the exact function that I have used, and this is the reason why I imported math. So this is a very simple thing. I just hide that definition again. So that is the function that I have called here, that is distance pos comma position. That means it is going to give me the distance between the center of the circle and the position where I click on the circle. and if that is less than the radius of the circle, then I am going to get the message hit, and the color of the inside of the circle is going to change to green, just to indicate that you have clicked at the right position, you have actually hit the ball. And count is also going to be incremented by 1, that means my score has incremented, I've got a point there. Else, that is, if you do not click inside the circle, you've clicked at some other place, you're going to get a message misprinted over here, and the color is also going to remain as red, so there will be no change in the color, so color is going to stay red. Now this is what is happening inside this click. Now whatever is happening inside the click is actually again being drawn on the canvas itself, so I need to show you that also. I have used two statements here, that is canvas dot draw text. There are two text statements actually. The first one writes the message is going to keep changing. It can be initially hit or miss depending upon whether you hit, or whether the player hits the circle or he misses the circle, and I have just specified these positions. I have made the message of the color to be black and the font size to be 40. After that, another statement that I have written here is your score is. I have converted the variable count to a string, and I have added these two strings. Now this is where I have used the concept of strings that was told in this week. That means I have added or concatenated, that is, I have taken a sum of two strings. So what is going to be printed on the canvas is your score is, that is one string, plus str of count, that is another string. So count, whatever is the count, say 2, 3, 4 or 0, it is going to be first converted into a string, and then this entire string is going to be printed in black with the size 40 and at these coordinates. So this was all about drawing on the screen. So we have discussed about distance, we have discussed about draw ball, we have discussed about click balls. Now the second thing that I want to discuss, and the next thing I want to discuss, is that how do you actually start the handler and start the timer and stop the timer. Usually what we had seen was that it was at this position that we would write start the timer or stop the timer, but what I have done here is that I have created two buttons that you saw on the screen, and as usual I have created the definition of these two buttons, and in these two lines I have registered these button handlers. So I have just called these button handlers as start and stop, and this is button handler 1, button handler 2. So what does button handler 1 do? It actually starts the timer. So when you are going to click on start, your game is going to start. The second button handler, that is the button handler 2, is going to stop the game. So when you actually click on stop, what all is going to happen is that first of all your count is going to become 0. So whatever score you had earned is going to become 0. The second thing is that the position of the circle is again going to return back to its original position, and of course the timer is going to stop. And the last thing is that the message that I have printed here, just to know that how was this game that I have made. I know it's quite simple, but still. So I have just printed this message here. Hope you enjoyed. Upvote if you like. And this is the message that will be printed when you click on stop. And I have registered these button handlers. Again, I have used global count message position. That is, I'm using these global variables, so I need to put the keyword global. Another thing that we need to see here is that here I have written position, that is I have written global position over here. The reason for that is that in this case I am not changing the elements of the position list, but I am actually changing the position list as a variable as a whole, and this is the way I have changed it. So here I need to put that global position keyword. So that's all about the game, that is the overall things that are happening in the game, and I'll just give you a brief overview of what we have done. So here we have the global state that is giving us the global value, that is defining the global state of the program. There is one helper function that I have declared over here and defined over here, that is distance, to calculate distance between 2 points. Then here I have drawn the ball on the canvas. Here I have created the timer to randomly change the position of the ball and do a few other things as discussed earlier. This is a handler for clicking, that is to take the mouse click as an input, and these are two button handlers to start and stop the game. Then I have created the frame and I have registered the event handlers, and finally I have started the frame, Another thing that I want to bring to your notice is that I have not written timer dot start over here, because I'm starting the timer only when the user is going to click on start. So that's all about the game. I'll just show it to you once again, and I'll play it a little bit. So I start the game, the position of the ball is going to change. If I click, I get a hit and my score gets updated. If I miss, I don't get any score update and I get a miss message there, and I could try doing that, and I get another hit. So when I'm done with it, I press stop. That's the button handler called. It's going to print the message and it's going to update the score to 0, so that next time you want to play, you can play again. And another interesting thing over here is that I can change the speed at which these balls they change their position. So I can change the value of interval. Let me just put it as, say, 550, and I run the program again and I start the game. Now you can see that, oh god, it's quite fast, so I don't think I'm going to get any hit over here. Anyway, so my score is going to stay at 0. I'm going to stop the game. So you can change the value of this interval, and accordingly you can just adjust the speed of the game for your own self. And you could also probably have some code which would do that for you and print it on the frame somewhere. There could be maybe a button handler or anything like of that sort, so that you can change the interval, maybe fix the speed of the game to medium, high, low, and you could have those choices for the player as well. So this was a very simple game. I hope you like it. I know there are people who might be creating much better games, but this was my first take. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something to learn. Thank you.